AG fans, GojiFan93 here, and well, welcome to another Kaiju discussion. In this video, we will be discussing the Heisei series of the Godzilla franchise. And also you can see, this is the new background for the time being. So yeah, displaying all the X Plus figures, it's all awesome. So just write in the comments, get all that out of the way. So anyways, let's talk about my all-time favorite series, the Heisei series, from 1984 to 1995. This is what I would call a very short and sweet series. This was obviously after, you know, Godzilla got really campy and, you know, kids loving and him waving at the camera and all that stuff. We actually, Toho decided to, you know, take Godzilla and bring him back to his roots and make him, you know, more of a ferocious monster again like he was in the first film. And this is why it's my favorite series of all time, because Godzilla pretty much in all these movies, I would say in the first 2 or 3 of this series, he's definitely not a hero, but he does kind of turn into an anti-hero because the Versus movies start to happen. And when I say the Versus movies, that's from like Godzilla vs. Biollante to Godzilla vs. Destroyer, because every movie was Godzilla versus insert name here. But the first one, though, Godzilla 1984, and boom, got my awesome 1984 shirt right there, and yeah, I mean, so, you know, the series starts off with this film, and, I mean, this is what Godzilla is to me, and that's why I love this series, that's why I love the Heisei series so much, is because this is Godzilla to me. He's a destructive force, he's a metaphor, he's symbolism, he's not kid-friendly, he's mean-looking. I mean, if you've seen 1984 and even just the Heisei design of the suits from 84 to 95, he doesn't look nice. He's not a nice-looking monster. I mean, you know, obviously I have my 89 right here, and 84 is up there, you guys can't see him, but I mean, just the ferocity, if that's even a word, with Godzilla in these movies is just phenomenal, and I freaking love it. So yeah, but 1984, that's the one that starts the Return of Godzilla, also aka 1985. I don't really say 1985 because there's no reason saying the American release. Just say what the movie is, and it's the Return of Godzilla, 1984. Anyway, so yeah, this film, I mean, you guys know, if you're old to the channel, you know, if you've been watching my videos, you know that this is my all-time favorite Godzilla Godzilla movie, hands down. If you're new to the channel, well, there's your answer to like my #1 favorite Godzilla movie. But also the thing is not only is it my favorite movie, but it's also my favorite suit of all time. This suit is just, I mean, oh my god, I can't express how much I just love this suit. Every time it's on screen, every time I see a picture of it, I just freak out. And I know sometimes it can look a little bit derpy at some angles, like especially when it's that 30-foot animatronic that they use, the Cyber Goji they call it. Sometimes it looks a little cheesy and weird. And to today's standards, that animatronic is kinda, you know, it's very robotic and very stiff when it's moving in the movie, but you know, for the time it was pretty cool and it was pretty ambitious to make a 30-foot robot of Godzilla to get some really cool close-up shots so that they can get that dynamic, you know, kind of camera angle or whatever. But yeah, I mean, everything about this film was just amazing. I mean, pretty much it's not a remake of 1954. Oh, and also I should address, the Heisei series is a sequel to the 1954 film. Everything in between, from Raids Again to Terror Mechagodzilla, never happened. That's gone. So it's just 1954, then the sequel, 1984. And that's why when you watch the film, it's like 30 years later and they talk about the first attack and then all of a sudden Godzilla's back and blah blah blah. So technically this would be the second Godzilla. Yeah, so I mean, you know, and then the effects, they obviously raised the budget, you know. I mean, when you saw Terror Mechagodzilla, you know, that's kind of how the film's kind of capped off for the Showa series. And then when you watch 84, you definitely notice a big difference in budget and special effects and all that stuff. Even the suit itself is way more realistic looking. Also because it's more of a darker tone, so Godzilla's not jumping around doing karate kicks and all that, you know. So yeah, but and you know, and then oh, and also 1984 there's no other monster. The only thing Godzilla fights in that one is Super X, and also that's the Heisei series introduced the Super X machines, which is really cool, and I'll talk about them later. And then we get the second movie, Godzilla vs. Biollante, and this is a new original monster for the Heisei series and to the Godzilla franchise, Biollante. And Biollante I really do like. I've grown to love this film so much. It used to be an underrated film, but I think now in the Godzilla fan base, it's definitely like gained popularity. But I think a while ago, because the film was so hard to find back in the day, I feel that's why it was kind of an underrated film, and I still feel like it's still kind of underappreciated for what it was, and I really love that film. But yeah, then we move on to Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, which kind of, it almost, I feel like that film almost took it back to that cheesy sci-fi way, but then they brought it kind of back down with the Godzilla vs. Mothra. And I've heard from a lot of people that, like Rich Iso told me that Godzilla vs. Mothra, the title is Godzilla vs. Mothra. It's not Godzilla vs. Mothra Battle for Earth. Battle for Earth, that whole subtitle was basically the American edit from TriStar or whatever. When they did the DVD release, they added that. But I kind of, it's cheesy sounding, I know, but I feel like it differentiates it from the other ones, even though the other one, the Showa one, is Mothra vs. Godzilla instead of Godzilla vs. Mothra, but I don't know, it just kind of helps. And we also kind of have the same title problem with Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. Technically, it's just Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. There's no 2. It's actually Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 93. But I feel, I don't know, I've just grown up, calling that Mechagodzilla 2. I just, when I look at that, when I see him, I'm just like, that's Mechagodzilla 2. And then we go to Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, which, if you guys, once again, watch my channel, Space Godzilla is my all-time favorite enemy of Godzilla. I just love Space Godzilla, even though the name is kind of stupid and, that's not original. But I still really love this character, just because of the way he's such a villain. But I'll get to him when I talk about the different monsters. And then we have the finale, which is Godzilla vs. Destroya, which, is just an epic film on its own. It was the perfect way to finish the series, and I love how Toho at the end, they realized, let's not milk this series to the point where it gets stupid like we did with the Showa series. Let's end it on a high note so that, boom, it's good. And it really was supposed to be the final film, but we'll get to what happens after that. But yeah, so let's name some of the things that I liked about. Obviously with the special effects, it was really cool, but one thing that I do have to note with the Heisei series is that the Heisei series was the most consistent series, I would say. It felt the most consistent. Every film didn't really have a boost in production value. Obviously when you go from 1984 to 1995, yeah, you see that progression of better effects and all that. But when I did my Godzilla-thon and I watched all the films in a row, I kind of felt like the films looked the same in each one, and that's fine. That's totally fine. Each of them looked a little bit better each time, especially because Godzilla himself, even though he had the same kind of basic design, each film there would be little changes to each incarnation of the Heisei Godzilla. But a lot of people would say obviously the most famous Heisei Godzilla design is 94. There's an outrageous amount of 94 figures out there. 94 is everywhere. He's even the star character of the new Godzilla game. If you guys know, so if you've played that, he's the 94 Godzilla. That's the one you play. Oh well, technically it's kind of a mixture of 1989 and 91 with 94, I guess. But I think what they were going for was the 94 type of Godzilla, even though they gave him the 84 roar, which I thought was awesome. That was one thing I didn't like about the Heisei series, is that Godzilla started out with this amazing roar. It was new. It took the original roar from 1954 and enhanced it and made it even more terrifying of a sound. And 1989 had it, and 1991 had it, and then when they made Godzilla vs. Mothra, they decided to give him the Showa roar, where it was kind of this high pitch, kind of squealing sometimes. I also noticed in Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, he got really whiny sounding. Like there was some parts where every time Godzilla got hit or something, it'd just be like this kind of. I don't know. I can't obviously replicate it, but I don't know. It was just like his roar just was not as epic as it was with 84 and 89 and 91. So that was one thing I didn't like, that they didn't keep with the Heisei roar, because that's it's just so awesome. But another thing, the Heisei lacked original monsters. That's the one thing I said when I talked about the Showa series, that the one thing that's really good about the Showa series was that, I mean, we got a slew of so many cool really cool different looking monsters. And because with the Heisei series being a little bit more grounded, it wasn't as crazy, they couldn't really do a lot with it. But, I mean, Biollante, to me, is probably the most crazy looking monster in the Heisei series. But we also got a lot of, monsters that we've already seen. You know, we got King Ghidorah, Mechagodzilla, Mothra. But when the Heisei series had a new monster, it was really cool. You know, Biollante, Batra, which was really awesome, and Destroya. I'm probably forgetting something, right? No, Space Godzilla, obviously. So, you know, we got those characters, and then the Super X's. I would mention the Super X's. Those things are really cool. You get the Super X1, which was in 1984. They brought it back in the second Biollante with the Super X2, which just kind of looked a little bit different, and then Super X3, which was a completely different looking aircraft and shoots freezer things and all that to freeze up Godzilla because he was burning up. So the Super X's were really cool. I thought those were a cool element, part of the the defense force, so when it came to the fighting of the actually, back up the train. I was going to say, with the monsters with the Heisei series, they weren't as inventive. So I will say that's a little bit of a downer with the Heisei series, that there just weren't enough, like, just like crazy monsters that there was in the Showa series. Another thing that's kind of a little lackluster in the Heisei series is the storylines. Once again, because it's kind of a consistent series, except for 1984, and here's the thing also, 84 still kind of is a Showa film, because I believe in the year it wasn't the change yet between the I think it was, I might get this wrong, but like the Emperor or something, Showa, Heisei, that's like the names of the people at the time or whatever. I don't know Japanese like history like that, but 1984 was still kind of made in the time where the Showa was still there, and that's why a lot of times when you watch like documentaries of Biollante, a lot of them say this is the new Godzilla, this is the new like generation. So 1984 is kind of always kicked out of the loop a lot when people are talking about the Heisei series. They always talk about Biollante to Destroya. They never really mention that 1984, it is a part of the Heisei series of Godzilla, but it's technically still kind of in the Showa. I remember, I think I watched that from Goji73's video. He was doing a review of the 1984 Memorial Box figure, and he was talking about that it was still kind of a Showa character. But anyways, regardless, to me it's still a Heisei series, whatever, part of that series. So yeah, but the storyline, because it was a consistent, thing, it felt, I mean, it could have been good, because, we have one reoccurring character at least, Mickey, and Mickey was really cool. I liked her character. She was really awesome. The fact that, she was from Biollante to Destroya. She was in every one of the films except for 84, and I believe, I don't actually know if she was in King Ghidorah. She might have been. I just can't think of it off the top of my head. But she played a really pivotal role in every film. She was the one that could like literally talk to Godzilla with like telepathy or whatever science thing. But it was really cool. Like I don't remember what movie it was from, but the scene where she's actually trying to communicate with Godzilla while he's in the ocean, and she's like on this helipad or something like that, and she's talking to him, and Godzilla's like, he looks at her, and then he kind of walks forward, and then it's really like intense, because you're like, oh god, what is he gonna do? So she was really cool. I'm glad that there was at least one character that we could follow throughout the whole series. It was really nice. But other than that, we had a lot of character. There was also an admiral or some kind of military guy who was in majority of the films. He wasn't in every one of them, but he was in the majority of films. Akira Takarada obviously makes an appearance in Godzilla vs. Mothra. I think he also made an appearance in I think maybe Mechagodzilla 2 along with Space Godzilla, but I'm not completely sure. Once again, my mind's kind of like, bleh. Yeah, and we get some recurring characters, but most of the time we would get a new cast for every film, just like it was with the Showa series. But like I said, when it came to storylines, they were very basic. It was very grounded, very basic. Just, hey, how are we going to kill Godzilla? Let's try and figure it out. Just send out some robot or whatever, Oh, I forgot to mention Mogira. Duh, Mogira is one of the new... Well, I actually technically know, because Mogira was actually in the Mysterians, but his name is different. Like, in that one he's Mogira, but in this one it's like M-O-G-U, whatever. It's... you guys know what I'm talking about. But I call him Mogira, or Mogera. Mugira, however, there's different ways to pronounce his name, but so one thing that I didn't like about the Heisei series, this is a dislike also, is the battles. The battle scenes are they're a light show pretty much, and this is a complaint I've heard a lot about the Showa series, or about the Heisei series, and I agree with it. It's a lot of just beam attacks. I mean, that's really it. It's like the monsters are just standing there, and they're just, trading beams and all that. It's just a light effect. There's even a scene in Godzilla vs. Mothra where not a lot is going on. You see Batra and Mothra flying in the air. The camera's kind of pointed up here, and you don't even see Godzilla, and yet you see Godzilla's breath go, and then Mothra go, and it's just like, it's like watching Star Wars. It's just like all these lasers are flying everywhere. There's not a lot of physical monster, attacking, and when there is, it's kind of just like two guys rubbing up against each other. It's not really like actual, like, oh, I'm gonna get, like it was in the Showa series. That's one thing I loved about the Showa series with the fight scenes, is that they were very physical a lot of the time. You'd have Godzilla go up there and just pound the shit out of the monsters. In the Heisei series, it was a lot of just, my beam is stronger than yours, and then we're gonna have the beam, the thing where two beams hit and then they go, and it's like, who's more powerful, and then have the big like explosion and both monsters would fall back. So I guess it kind of brings back to it being grounded, because I guess the monsters wouldn't be doing flying karate kicks all the time, but it kind of would help the fight scenes make them a little bit more memorable, because I remember like watching Mechagodzilla 2, and the fight scene it just droned on and on and on. Actually, the Space Godzilla battle was really long. Actually, it was like, I think it was almost a 30-minute battle, even when you cut up the human parts and you take the human parts out, and it's just like the monster fight. It's a long fight. So also they bring Godzilla's son back, but they actually make him good this time. It's not Manila. Take that piece of shit out of here. It's actually a respectable son of Godzilla. He starts out in I believe it's Mechagodzilla 2, and he starts out as like a little baby Godzilla that's human size, and then in Space Godzilla he returns, but for some reason, I don't know why, but he grows really big, obviously, but then his whole body just changes because they wanted to kind of make him look like Minya, whatever, and so they kind of made him look like Minya, but they didn't make him gray, or they didn't, they gave him green, and they kind of made him look a little bit more Godzilla-ish. And then I feel, the best rendition of Godzilla's son is Godzilla Jr. I think everyone can agree on that. Godzilla Jr. is the best incarnation of Godzilla's son. He looked like Godzilla. He sounded like Godzilla. He even held his own when he fought Destroya in that first half of the battle. So it was really cool to see that. Especially after the colossal failure that Minya was. So, like, Godzilla Jr. did not go poof, 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 like he did a full breath, so it was awesome. The music, again, the music is really cool. There are some original themes, obviously. 84 Biollante were not from Akira Fukube. And I believe Space Godzilla was also not composed by Akira Fukube, but the rest of the movies were. And the thing that I loved about it, kind of showed that Akira Fukube didn't need to compose every Godzilla film to have a good musical score to it. 1984 sounds really cool. Biollante has an amazing soundtrack, and Space Godzilla sounds really cool. I like the way like Space Godzilla's theme is with the dun 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 dun. You're like, it's awesome. But then the rest of the films are Akira Fukube, and most of the time they're remasters of the Showa themes that Akira Fukube did back then. But there are some new things like the Army March. Like instead of like the original Army March, they totally make a different kind of march military theme, which is really awesome. Like I think when the Jets are fighting King Ghidorah, that musical part, that's a completely different composition. It's not something that was reused from the Showa series, and I really like that. So it showed that Akira Fukube was not done. He of course wanted to make new music for the series, but he also wanted to bring his old masterpieces and bring them back into the current Godzilla films. So the music was really good, but I would still kind of give it to the Showa series because it just had all the original, just really good stuff, and it was mostly remakes in this one, but still, there were really memorable tracks in the Heisei series. So yeah, there's just, I can't really think of anything else to talk about the Heisei series. I'm probably missing a lot, but I mean, you know, it's just off the top of my head and just my opinions and just having a discussion about it. And that's the point of these videos. So yeah, I mean, you know, put in the comments of what you guys thought I could talk about or what you guys want to talk about the Heisei series. I've probably said about like 3 times in one sentence. Good job with grammar. You know, it's just fun. I really like doing these kind of kaiju discussions, talking about a series and all that. So the next one will be the Millennium series, and that will be really interesting to talk about. So yeah, that's pretty much it for me with the Heisei series. Thank you guys so much for watching. And also, I'm sorry that there's been like a break between this video and the last one. I've just been so busy. I've actually finally got my computer fixed. My desktop is good and ready to go, so I can continue editing. I can now put pictures in my videos again. It's just like, it's gonna be really awesome. So I've been busy doing that stuff, school and work. It's just like, bleh, you know. And if you guys follow me on Facebook, I did post that I am planning something that's not Godzilla related for me to do to continue my, I would say, entertainer or content creator career that I have right now. So, and I hope you guys would be excited for it. I think some of you might know what it is, but I don't know. We'll just have to see. I'll make a video of it when I get it all concrete and ready to go. So, but that's it. So enough stalling the end of this video. That's me. That's my opinion for the Heisei series. Post in the comments what you guys think about the Heisei series and why you think it's awesome or why you think it sucks. So, that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay big, G fans.